Hey, everybody. Well, I had not planned on coming back on this particular story, and it's heartbreaking that when I was finishing up my last live related to Lauren Pazienza, we got breaking news that Cassi Carli has been found deceased. The property where she was found is legally connected to Marcus Spanevelo, and there are there are conflicting stories about the manner that the property is connected to Marcus, and that is some people are claiming that he owns the property and the land, and that's where he's staying. And other people are saying that he rents or leases the land, but there is a barn on the property, and apparently it's a horse barn because it had individual stalls. And so Cassie's body was discovered in a shallow grave in one of the stalls. And this is in Alabama. Oh, I put Tennessee. Do I have the wrong information? Let me verify it. I thought they said that it was in Tennessee. Hold on, I'm checking for the record. Shallow grave in Alabama. Okay, I need to. Yeah, Cassie Carley's body found in a shallow grave in Alabama, but he was arrested in Tennessee, right? Okay, Lebanon, Tennessee, I believe is the name. Yeah, that yeah, it's terrible. So they will be due. Her body was actually discovered yesterday. They did take Marcus into custody and were able to get Sailor, the little girl. Um, and so yesterday, I guess they have been kind of retracing his steps. Now, I thought it was quite interesting that they said that the way that they found her is because they actually had connection to her cell phone signal. And clear, obviously, he did not know that her phone was still operative, and they were able to follow the signal and kind of retrace the steps, and ultimately came back to this Alabama property. And they said that he has legal connections to the property where the barn is, but there's a little bit of conflicting information. Not sure if he owns the property or if maybe he is renting it. I guess another possibility might be that another family member owns it, perhaps. It is, they are not married, Christy, but he is the father of her 4 year old baby. So she's got a 4 year old. I was thinking she was three, but 3 or 4 year old little girl named Sailor, and and he has been rather nasty. If when you when you hear her the press conferences that her sister and brother and very close friends, um, they've they've been very active trying to get the story out there, and they said the brother said that she had said if anything ever happened to her that Marcus did it. He is a gaslighting fool. I mean, he is manipulative. He is highly controlling. He made Cassie question herself, and ultimately she did end up to find the courage to get away from him. And they have been locked in a horrible, heated legal battle related to the little girl, Sailor. Um, he was given limited visitation. And that here's something that hadn't really been talked about very much, but apparently, reportedly, Marcus owed Cassi $10,000 of back child support, right? And so they said that the day after, I guess it would have been that following Monday that she went missing, Monday, that he had to pay it that day. That something. So I don't know. Let me say this: the family has a Facebook page up. It's on the other video that I did. Navarre. The name of it is Navarre, Florida, missing woman, Cassi Carli. And they're being very free with information. They're putting out a great deal of facts for everybody, and they're requesting, no wild speculation or anything like that. Now, on the post that I made on the Facebook, another person said that she was supposed to be that he owed her the $10,000, and that Monday there was the deadline for paying the $10,000. So, that wasn't put out by the family, but why would somebody put up a lie on the family page? So I don't know. It's very confusing. But anyway, so I immediately thought of Josh Powell when I heard that, and I thought, well, maybe his back, was against the wall. Also, another very important point about this possible timeline pressure that he was looking at having to pay her $10,000 that Monday. His mother lives in Brazil, and if you hear him talk, you can definitely hear his accent. And it's not really thick. I mean, he's easily understood, but you can definitely tell he was born in another country. So if you look on the mother's Facebook page, there's a photograph of Sailor playing on the beach. And her comment is, what a pretty little miss, meaning little girl, what a pretty little miss. And then it says, counting the hours and minutes, as if to say that she had reason to believe that she was going to soon see Sailor. So, I think it will be interesting if, to find out if the cops are able to determine if he had plane tickets to Brazil. And if maybe he was trying to make his way to Canada, to maybe fly out of Canada, maybe to hide his trail. But it certainly does sound like the mother of this man thought that she would soon be seeing Sailor, So I'm putting together a video. But the previous video, obviously, Cassi was presumed alive, and I was basically just spreading the facts and the story put out by the family members because of their request to do that. But at this point now, this is what we talk about is, what were some of the psychological correlates this guy may have been going through? Were there any kind of red flags, personality issues? And I think there's probably a yes to all of that. So, I'll abandon what I've been doing. I do have a video that I'm working on about the Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, but I'll go ahead and save it and put it aside and work on this video for Cassi Carli. I'm weary that you just, you just don't know what's wrong with people, and I have a theory. I will say this. I think that many professionals have been saying for about the past 10 years, maybe 12 years, that this would be the first generation of people, adults, that had been uh, celebrated for simply existing, that they didn't have to put in hard work to get back recognition, that with the push for everybody gets a trophy, and you can't give somebody a D, everybody has to get an A, and you can't use a red pen, that those things are not really real life, right? And how did we learn not to play with snakes? Well, we learned not to play with snakes because the ancestors that learned, oh yeah, I saw my friend get bit by a snake and he died, so I think I'm going to stay away from snakes so I won't die. And so then those genes got passed down to a new generation of offspring. And so we call that a genetic endowment. The survival skills learned by running and hiding from dinosaurs and saber-toothed tigers, and all of those things come together and get, because of the specialization, the survival of which particular genes survive, um, it gets passed down into your children, and then they have certain positive skill sets. And like I said, about 12 years ago, the researchers in this area of cognition and learning and developmental maturation, they began to ask, what have we done to a generation of children that really are not getting any kind of feedback for bad behavior, for negative behavior. They get a lot of feedback for positive behavior, right? I mean, that's really kind of been our messaging, is wait for your kid to do the action you want them to do, and then recognize it and give a reward, like a hug, or a verbal good job or whatever. But in terms of punishment, in terms of making the child uncomfortable, and I don't mean beating him, I don't mean hitting him and all that, but even things like if a kid throws a fit because they're demanding a certain toy, very few parents will pick that kid up and throw him over their shoulder and walk right out of the store with them kicking and screaming and carrying on. Everybody wants you don't want to be embarrassed that your kid is screaming, and so parents try to calm the kid, and it really is this the last 20 years, 17-20 years, the manner of the power given to a child in a family has dramatically changed. I even see some families where you've got a 5-year-old who's basically making the rules of the home. And you just think, would you put your 5-year-old in charge of your budget? Would you let your 5th grader tell you how to do your job? Would you take them to work with you and tell you how to, work? It doesn't make sense to make your child the center of the home. They actually need fences for safety. It gives them a sense of safety, and it gives them a sense of confidence to be told, here's the rule, here's what you're going to follow, and if you break the rule, here are the consequences. So there's an array of um, reward type contingencies, but also some punishment type tendencies. And I know behaviorists have, trying to get away from the idea of punishment to try to reduce, domestic violence. But it doesn't mean that a child can't feel discomfort when they when they act out in a way that's hurtful to other people. They should be aware that they're harming people, that they're upsetting them by, also being uncomfortable. If your child puts a hole in the wall, then your child should be the one to learn how to spackle it, cut it out, put new sheetrock and spackle it, and then paint it, and maybe even finish painting the whole room as punishment, right? That you don't go around putting holes in the walls, because it creates more work for other people. You just can't do that. So people stop doing that for the most part. Not everybody, not every family, but overall, we had this generational flip where we had kids that were growing up in a manner that they were the most celebrated creature simply for existing. They didn't have to behave properly. They did not have to put in a lot of hard work, and they did not have to excel in any way. They just got that recognition. And so the question for developmental maturation and this idea of moral reasoning was, if you come into the world and you're treated like you are the most special person in the house, that nobody else matters, that you have to just be catered to be calm and quiet, you get shielded from getting an F on a paper, even though you didn't study. You still can't be given an F, or you don't go to practice, but you still get a trophy at the end of the season, like everybody else on the team. Kids that were there every practice and every game. What is the message that you are getting? What do you learn? Well, you learn that there are no limits. You learn that there are no boundaries. And you learn that people should never, ever, ever look down on you negatively, regardless of the behavior that you engage in. And part of me wonders, is that what is at play with all of this killing that we've got going on right now? I mean, in Houston, you can read about it online. In Houston, we've got people that are getting shot in the head because they slammed on their brakes too hard in front of the wrong person, because they didn't turn their blinker on and had the audacity to change lanes in front of another car. If you flip somebody the bird in Houston, Texas, you're probably going to die. So it's not just men killing the mothers of their children or their wives that they previously loved. It just seems like we've got this young generation from 15 up to 25, 30 years old, which would have been that first generation that everybody has speculated, the professionals have speculated about, in terms of, we don't know what these people are going to be like when they have been celebrated just for simply existing. We don't know what it's going to do to their moral development. We don't know what it's going to do to their ability to have effective, rewarding relationships. And my question is, are we getting a glimpse now? Are we now seeing what is going on, right? So I don't know, but I will tell you this. The baby sailor, she would have benefited far more by having a mom and a dad that were able to be rational, calm, non-emotional human beings, so they could model for her healthy behaviors. And instead, Sailor is the most well-behaved person in the room. I don't even want to think about the amount of trauma that this child is going to carry forward into her future, because that she was exposed to this jackass raging and screaming and yelling. She was. If he's going to kill a woman that he doesn't even live with, if he's going to kill a woman intentionally, planned, do you really believe that he has control over his emotions not to traumatize a little 4-year-old? I'm going to hope and pray that the baby did not see the mom lose her life. I'm going to hope and pray. But your guess, I guess, is as good as mine whether she witnessed it. So the damage didn't end, with the death of Cassi Carli, and the damage won't end when this alleged murderer is either put to death or spends the rest of his life in a prison. But because now the baby is going to have to deal with this growing up. It changes the brain when we experience trauma, especially early childhood. It's like a hyper effective anxiety panic producing brain, right? To be exposed to that level of trauma in early childhood, your brain learns very early on how to have a panic attack. Survival is the highest order. And so anytime you're in a normally, maybe a little stressful situation, a traumatized brain immediately jumps to survival mode. It's brainstem, old brain kind of thought. It completely bypasses the rational frontal lobe, prefrontal lobe modulation. It's not there. So this baby, hopefully the family will go ahead. You can put her into play therapy. Make sure, here I'll say this, make sure that it is a true play therapist, and you can find those resources online and get you won't have any trouble finding a reputable, competent play therapist to work with this baby. You won't have any trouble. And she needs to be in therapy starting tomorrow. And the goal of that is going to be understanding what emotions are and being able to judge when they're too big and having a plan for what to do when it's too big. But there's not really much hope that she's ever going to just learn to keep it low key. The physiological reaction will be fairly natural to her. So it is, we got to do better. Part of doing better, I think, is for parents to recognize that your role is not to shelter your child from discomfort, but to let your child experience a normal life. And when part of that normal life is disappointment or sadness or anger, then your job becomes to coach them through that. Let them experience the emotion, but teach them that it's not catastrophic, that it's okay to lose somebody you love. It doesn't have to make you go crazy. It doesn't have to end your life, and give you skills for how to get through it till you feel better again, right? You can love your children and instill consequences for bad behavior. Children need balance in their life. It's becoming easier to give them what they want, to stop the crying, fit, throwing. It's not good. I'm with you 100%, Donna. 100%. Absolutely. Nobody's ever going to escape anger. Nobody's ever going to escape sadness. They are natural physiological reactions, and we all have them except for psychopaths. And so our job is not to shelter them from disappointment, anger, sadness. That's not our role. We can't shelter them from that. Our role is to let them experience it and just coach them through it. Let them know this is also going to pass. You feel terrible right now, but let's breathe through it. Let's watch a cartoon. Let's relax, and soon these bad feelings are going to go ahead and go away. Or let's go outside and go for a little walk or go throw the ball. It's just, so many. It's just so many. It's terrible. Anyway, Yeah. So anybody else hear any other facts of the case? I think I've kind of reviewed what we know. Tomorrow, April the 4th, they are going to be doing a preliminary autopsy. I believe it's St. Clair's coroner, Dennis Russell. The barn was in Springville, Alabama. Uh, Cassie was identified by a tattoo on her right foot. And one more thing, that Marcus is not cooperating. In fact, one of the sheriff's deputies said, and I quote, he is behaving badly. So I'm going to assume that means that he's fighting, screaming, yelling, lashing out, carrying on. Just look at that picture. And I believe in my heart that he got punched in the head. Doesn't he look like he has a broken nose and two black eyes? This is his booking photograph. So, yeah, so he is not cooperating. He is not talking. And the deputy said he is behaving badly. He's a bad guy. Yeah. Total jerk, Powder Puff. Total jerk. Absolutely. It is such a sad day, Scarlett. This is getting old. This is getting it just seems you think about the lineup right now of the cases. You got two trials starting tomorrow for this kind of foolishness. One of the trials tomorrow is that weirdo Toddit, Todt, who done his whole family in Disneyland of not Disney World property Celebration, Florida. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, absolutely, Shella Bella. Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so he's not cooperating. Um, I said about his mom that it seemed like she was expecting to be seeing Sailor. Um, okay, so Sailor was living in the home with her mother. Her and her mom were living in the home of her maternal grandfather. That's Cassie's dad. So the three of them were living in the dad's house, right? The location for the handoff was only 10 minutes from his house. He lives very close to the beach, right? So it's important to understand that even though it was a supposed parking lot, quotation marks, at a restaurant, if you look at the photographs, and I'll make a video that's got that on there. I'm sure lots of other people have it up, but even though there's the parking lot in the restaurant where she parked was quite a ways. There was nobody near her. There were no cars around where he parked or she parked. There were eyewitnesses that said that they saw her get out of her car and walk over to his truck, but that she never returned to her car and they saw his truck drive away. So the police damn well knew that he had her. Now, what they don't know is they don't know if Sailor was actually in the truck with him. He had Sailor, and she was coming to get Sailor after a weekend visit. So she was all excited and ready to get her baby back. So it's unknown whether Sailor was actually in the truck or if he, forced her into the truck and Sailor saw it all. It's hard to know. The horrible thing is he did have that trailer with him, and the trailer's creepy. I think it's just like a work trailer, but it doesn't have any windows. And he had turned it into like a living quarters. So he could have harmed her and then had her in the back end of that trailer all the way to Alabama. And nobody would have ever known it. Nobody would have ever seen it. Yeah, he got her right then, Melinda. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, another dumb criminal. Listen, Nancy, he says he told the police that they said, we know she's with you. Like you can, well, there's eyewitnesses. You can try to lie if you want to, but we have no doubt that she's in the car with you. We're going to find her DNA in your truck. There's no doubt about that. So go ahead and tell us, where she is. Well, he goes on, he starts saying, well, she was all freaked out and she wanted me to drop her and Sailor off in the middle of nowhere. And I wasn't going to do that. And he said, and so she told me that I needed to take her to Destin, Florida, and drop her off at her friend Sam's house. Right? Well, lo and behold, Sam doesn't live in Destin anymore. She's moved. So right there, they knew he was lying about the whole, I dropped her off in Destin. So yeah, he's a dumb criminal. Absolutely. Yep. He'd have to be dumb as hell to not know he was getting caught, right? Yeah. Yeah. Does anyone know anything about Cassie's mom? Have not heard a word, Shella. I don't know. I do not know. Yeah, I kind of look at this guy, not so much a Barry Morphew. He's kind of more of a Chris Watts. I think he may be a little on the psychopathic side. It's kind of crazy what he did, and definitely narcissistic, right? Definitely narcissistic. Think he's going to get away with all this, and the manipulation and gaslighting and everything, no doubt. But I don't know. He may be like Barry, because we have heard that Barry had a nasty temper, right? Barry even has made jokes about his temper. That's why at exchanges you can have a police stand by when the exchange is being done. Absolutely, Donna, and that's what I said. If you're one of these families that you've been told you need a public drop-off place or exchange place, make it public. It doesn't do you any good to be parked 200 yards away from a restaurant, nobody's around you. How's that going to help save you? If I was doing it, it would be 1 o'clock in the afternoon in McDonald's parking lot, like the absolute busiest, or in a damn parking lot at a police station. I would make sure it was somewhere where there were cameras and people and otherwise what's the point? So terribly sad. It's just heartbreaking. And I felt awful because the news began to come out when I was doing my other video, the one on Lauren Pazienza. And I was kind of being joking and kind of fun, and I had no idea, and so I ended the live. I went through, I got the video all set up and everything. And then when I was just about to go back live again, that's when I started hearing the news coming out that they had found Cassie. So I just feel very sad about it. Really, really sad. I mean, I don't know what I thought. I thought they might find her alive. We've had some women that went missing, were even gone for a couple of weeks, and turned out they were having like a mental health problem, or I just thought maybe I don't even want to think about what this guy did. I don't even want to think about what he did. Anyway, so I do have a video up with about Lauren with the facts and all that. If you don't mind, it's not very long. if you don't mind, would you go ahead and play it? Let it play all the way through, because I'm trying to get the damn algorithm to see my channel again. Let it play all the way through, give it a thumb up or thumb down, and then, if you could just leave a comment. It doesn't matter if you just put a, I don't know, put a period and hit enter. Any kind of comment, good, bad, ugly, whatever, nonsensical, doesn't matter. But just something that will kind of help maybe try to get the kind of kickstart the algorithm thing. So, all right, everybody. Well, thank y'all so much for being here. I appreciate it. Lori Kester, thank you. She was okay. Y'all listen. Cassie was starting her new job the next day, so she would not go to Destin. If someone kills me, I hope they put a tad of thought and effort into it. This isn't funny though. No, I agree. No, this is awful, Lori. It's you got a 4-year-old baby involved. It just doesn't. It's terrible. It's really awful. Thank God he didn't hurt the baby, right? Thank goodness. Let's see. She was, I've been through the see something, say something thing and got alienated from my granddaughters for 5 years now. I'm so sorry, so sorry. Hello, everyone. People need to start believing the families when we report on things, not negate the reports or call us intrusive or nosy. Thank you, Ditdums. Yes, absolutely. With the Irion, is that the name? Irion? They were trying to report her missing, and the cops were brushing them off. And they were saying, wait a minute, we know our child. We know her. She is not spending the night away with no one knowing on her own free will. We promise. And they kept putting it off because they, kept saying, well, she's 18 or not, 19 maybe. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. If family members come in or call and they're beside themselves, they're terrified, please take action. Please take action. Okay, I think that's all the big comments. Jackie Hughes. Hi, Yvette. If children act that way, it's because there's something wrong. So there hasn't always been mothers that coddle one of their children, enabling them to feel entitled to a better than mentality, or just trending up. No. I definitely think, no doubt, there's always been those mothers. Absolutely. That, no doubt. But I think that, more and more, this is kind of going, this is a deep, it's a big topic, but, we're the majority. Okay, so at this point, you can tell I wasn't prepared to talk about this because I'm stumbling. At this point in time, there are more people with college degrees, Alley Cattails. There are more people with college degrees in the United States than ever before in history, right? And part of that is part of the result of having that many well-educated citizens is that they've been exposed to things related to things like child rearing, health related behaviors, things like that. More people have been exposed to things that are outside of the church, outside of the family circle of influence, the family and whatnot, and they've been more exposed to theory for things like how do you raise your kids and what's a good mom or dad. And so it is kind of become not a battle, but a mixing pot of when you become a parent, you know how you were treated as a parent, what your parents did. You know what the rules are from the church. And sadly, some churches still say, spare the rod, spoil the child. And then you've got the theory that comes from your psychology 101, that everybody got exposed to. Well, if you're 30, 40, 50 or older, then you probably got a spanking when you were a kid, right? Nobody likes spankings. And so your parents may have spanked, and then the church may have said, spare the rod, spoil the child. Then you go to college and you find out, well, actually, positive reinforcement is a much more effective tool for managing behavior. And it's long lasting. And in order for punishment to be effective, the agent of punishment has to be in the room. And so theoretically, right, we teach positive reinforcement, and then you ignore and hope to extinguish negative behavior. You just don't act on it, don't give it any reinforcement, and then it goes away. Theoretically, doesn't always play out that way, but in theory, it should. So all of that is real, if you're training a dog, okay? But we're human beings, and we have a really special, unique brain that has the capability for managing concepts like democracy and love, things that are very ambiguous and without, non-tangibles, right? We're capable of understanding those things in a way that other animals can't. So it is correct, it is true that you want to rely on positive reinforcement, and then you want to rely hopefully on, extinction for the negative behaviors. But people are smart, including little kids. And kids will learn that, if they don't do bad things in front of their parent, then they could still do them, just don't do them in front of the parent. And well, if they get caught, who cares? Nobody's going to say anything anyway. And that's kind of what the result has been. So he does look like a sociopath. See him? Yeah, I agree. So I definitely think those mothers they've always been out there, alley cattails. I believe that in my heart. I can think of kids when I was in elementary school. I can think of kids that this one girl was terrible. She wasn't nice at all, but her mom treated her like she was the end all be all, right? She was not held, and she cried all the time. It was all of us other kids would stand and look at her, and she'd just cry and cry. I mean, she was really, Anyway, now though, I do think, we are not allowing human beings to experience the full experience of the human brain. If you're running around constantly trying to protect your child from themselves, I've seen children not allowed to play in the grass. You know why they're not allowed to play in the grass? Well, because there's dirt there and there's bugs. Now, does that sound rational? Does that sound even remotely rational, that you're not going to give a child the sensory experience of rolling around in the grass, right? I mean, it just makes your brain light up with joy to be outside in the sunshine, rolling around the grass, feeling it, smelling the freshness, and it is ridiculous, right? And listen to this. It is those moments where you're rolling around on the ground that your immune system is actually being shored up. You're teaching your body, or your body is teaching itself, how to fight off disease and what antibodies are good ones. But again, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. We have more people than ever before that have gone to college, and they've now been exposed to these theoretical beliefs on child rearing and whatnot. And I think a result of that has been to not, in some, let me say it this way, in some ways we overestimate the ability of a child or the needs of a child, but in other ways we underestimate what they can do. And the reality is this: anger, disappointment, sadness are no different than happiness and joy. Your brain is going through a succession of chemical reactions. And those chemical reactions result in an emotion, which moves you into action. Sometimes it's joy, and sometimes it's anger, or sometimes it's sadness. But it doesn't make sense to say one emotion is a bad one while another one is a good one. The reality is that they're all just chemical reactions. They're like gasoline that makes a car roll down the road. Your emotions are the gasoline that make your body move and do things. So why are we trying to shield children from experiencing negative emotion? What they really need is to know what it is, know why they feel like they do, and then coach them through it and help them be factual and rational, and learn ways to calm themselves so that they don't feel too uncomfortable until the emotion changes. And it will. They always do. But we're not doing that. We're not carrying through to that other. We've gotten so worried that if my child gets sick or sad or angry, then my child's going to be damaged somehow. No, normal human emotion is not going to damage your child. But what will damage your child is to deny them the experience of understanding their own body and their own capabilities. I mean, if you're going to get a shot, or your kid's going to get a shot, and they know it's going to hurt, right? It's going to pinch for a minute. What do you say? Oh, no, 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 don't give my child a shot. No, 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 my child can never have a shot. No, 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 don't hurt my child. Don't pinch my child. That's so abusive to give him a shot. Man, your child has pneumonia. If we don't give your child this shot of antibiotic, they may not survive. No, 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 it'll hurt their skin. No, that's silly, right? What do? You say to your child, look at me, and let's count together. And you try to get their mind on something else so they're not thinking about when the needle goes in, right? Or you say, hey, let's breathe. This is going to be over in just a minute. It's only going to take a second, and then we'll go. Do you want to go get ice cream? Do you want to go to the park and feed the ducks? Like, what do we want to do when we leave here? What will we be doing when we leave here? You try to get their mind on something else, right? You don't shelter them from their own natural physiological body reactions. They have to understand their body and why it feels the things it feels and what it means and how to manage it to feel better. Right? Okay. All right. Lecture done. No, I'm kidding. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, thank y'all so much for being here. These damn men, and there's been some crazy women too. It's not all men. There's some women that, Jodi Arias comes to mind. But these damn men need to quit just erasing people that they decide have become inconvenient. It has to come to a stop. It really does. And the only way that I think the only way you even get started on that is to have a conversation. What is happening? Why are so many people doing this? Why is it that if you get in your car and drive in downtown Houston and you maybe switch lanes in front of the wrong guy, you may be about to die? Why? All right. Okay, everybody. Well, I'm sure that there will be a great amount of content on YouTube tonight. There's so many different things going on. Um, like I said, the Toddett trial starts tomorrow in Florida, so keep your eyes on that. And thank you, Melinda. Oh my God, teach your daughters that she is not going to change him. Absolutely. These young women that are, and old ladies too, that think, oh, he's such a great guy. He just gets mad every now and then. We can work through that. We can fix that. He would never hit me. Yeah. You're not going to change him. You're not going to change him. And if he hits you once, leave. It's over. He's going to do it again if you don't. Okay, people, y'all are awesome. I appreciate you so much. I do hope that you'll go and watch my Lauren Pazienza video that I just put up before I got the news about Cassi. Please watch it all the way through. It's not very long. Please do a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Please give a little bit of a comment. It can even be just, a single letter. I'm trying to kickstart my algorithm. I've been offline a lot. I haven't really done a lot. And so I'm getting 0 views. Well, no, not 0, but very few views compared to what, I normally get. So I hope you will help me just a little bit. And if you're not a subscriber, obviously, I would really be appreciative if you wanted to subscribe, though you do not have to. All right. Okay. I will see you around the streets of YouTube. Thanks, y'all. Bye-bye.